Welcome in, everyone, to Life Without Limits, where there are no limits to what you can achieve. Croix Sather. I met Croix when I went to Manila, Philippines to talk about my story and teach emotional freedom techniques. He is remarkable. He ran across America from Los Angeles to New York. Okay. Yeah. He is a mindset person. He is so perfect for my podcast and for you all. My intention for everyone is always to inspire you, maybe think a little differently, hopefully learn something new, and hopefully learn something that will help you in your business. That is always my intention. So let me read some things about Croix. After many years as a carpenter, Croix felt ordinary and unfulfilled. He decided to transform his life and become someone truly remarkable, which he has. He became a test tube. This is on his website. He became a test tube for success, and the results he got were amazing. Croix is a frequent TEDx speaker. He has been on, media. Forget about it. I'm telling you, he's incredible. Okay, the media calls him Marathon Man. In just 1 year, Croix went from a non-runner to a 2,621-mile run across America, joining the ranks of the most ultra runners in the world for 100 consecutive days. He ran a marathon distance each day, plus speaking. Plus each morning before he ran his marathon, he gave an inspirational keynote speech to audiences to challenge their to challenge their thinking. He spoke in addiction recovery centers, homeless shelters, and Hope for Warriors. Never a day off. Can you imagine? Okay. I think you're getting a taste of what's coming up with this. I'll call him a young man because he truly is. He truly is amazing. It is my honor and privilege to have him as a guest on my show. So I'm going to bring him in here. Everybody hold on, as we say, Sapphire. All right, participants, and I'm going to make Croix an attendee. He's here. All right, Croix, here we go. Promote to. Someday when I can read, that would be helpful. Okay, here we go. Ta-da. Hi, good morning, Croix. Okay, it takes just a little bit for the audio to kick in. So just check your microphone. Testing 1, 2, 3.
There we go. I was muted. There we go.
Yep. Terrific. Okay, and I am going to increase you. Well, to say it's an honor and privilege to have you on the show would be an understatement. Geez, it's just like we're back in Manila talking.
Yeah, it's good to see you again.
Good to see you too. Wonderful. Thank you so much for being here. You are such an inspiration. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something. No more excuses. No more procrastination. Croix is going to share his story with you. And then if you have any more procrastination, I will help you tap it out. Croix, what? So one day you're a carpenter and the next day you said, this is nonsense. I've had it. I want to do something incredible. I want to inspire the world. When did that happen that you made the decision to do this?
It actually goes back to my childhood, but the most important part is that when I was starting to read personal development books and I started going to seminars as an adult, then I started seeing the same question over and over. And the question that changed my life, and it was, what would you do if you knew you would succeed? So failure was impossible. What would you do? And so I was asking myself that over and over. And that's when I had heard about a guy who ran across America. And so that's what I decided, like, that's the coolest thing ever. So I want to do that. But the question, to answer your question more directly, is that I got tired of being ordinary. You know, my dad was a carpenter, my brothers were carpenters, my uncles were carpenters. So I became, of course, a carpenter. And that was great. And I made a good living at it and I enjoyed it. And I was actually quite good at it. Did financially well, but I knew there was more. And so I wanted to do something truly extraordinary by my standards. And as a child, I read the Guinness Book of World Records. So that was somewhere way deep into my subconscious mind, is how could I do something of that level? Now, my run isn't in the Guinness Book of World Records, but it is a world record, not the Run Across America, but Death Valley. And so it was something that truly was at my level of, you know, of remarkable, of extraordinary. So that's the first thing, is you've got to choose to be amazing. You've got to choose to be remarkable. You got to choose to be different. You got to choose to live a life that you want to live and not live the life that others expect of you. And that's our biggest hold in life, is because we're worried about what other people think.
Oh, yes. Quit worrying about what other people think, because in truth, they're not thinking about you. They're thinking about themselves anyway.
This is true.
What would you do if you knew you couldn't fail? All right, ladies and gentlemen, ponder that question. Yes, because in my philosophy, as long as you're trying, you're never failing anyway. It's only when you don't do anything that you fail.
Exactly.
If you don't have the effort. Gosh, what was it like running through Death Valley? I mean, you were in some kind of a mobile home and you ran how many? Because I know in Manila it's hot. I can't begin to guess how hot it is in Death Valley.
Well, just to be clear for everybody listening, there was Run Across America, which was 2011. And so that was 100 days of running a marathon a day. Then the next year, and with an additional year of training, I ran through Death Valley to break the world record, running unassisted through the hottest place on the planet. And that was a 146-mile race nonstop.
Oh.
So two separate things. But here's I mean, they're cool, and I get it. It's exciting. It's kind of a wow thing. And people are probably thinking, you know, this guy's superhuman and something or other. It's totally not true, because a year before Run Across America, I wasn't a runner. And
that's what I think is so incredible.
And you've seen me. I'm too big. I'm too bulky. I'm not a gifted runner. I don't have the physique of a runner like that. But I did it anyway with just a year of training, because once we set our mind to something, once you set yourself on a goal, then anything becomes possible. You know, you want to become a millionaire. Do you want to find that amazing relationship, your soulmate? You know, do you want to be a great parent? Do you want to go live out in the woods off the grid from everybody else? You know, whatever it is, you know, anything is possible once you choose the goal and you set your mind to it. And you got to believe it before you can see it. You can't believe it. You can't say, you know, I'll believe it when I see it, because a lot of people say that. You've got to believe it in order to see it.
Yes. If I know, now here's something interesting, because I learned how to podcast maybe 2 years ago. And now I have one of the most fantastic guests on my show. I really scored on this one, ladies and gentlemen, having Croix join us today. Because
you're a great example of this too, because you're doing two amazing things. One is this podcast, and you're on YouTube, and you have all these subscribers, which so many people try to get, and you've got that. I mean, that's extraordinary in itself. But when we met, the first thing I told you was like, wow, you're the first person who's teaching ETF that actually knows the science behind it and isn't like a wacko. You know, because a lot of people out there, they're nuts that teach this stuff, but you combine the science with the art, with the woo-woo side of it, and it made sense to me for the first time ever hearing about this. So you're far above and beyond what other people are doing in your field. So you're one of the leaders. Spectacular.
Thank you so much. Well, that's my intention, to help people with this particular method, explain the science behind it, then teach it, and then watch their transformation. That's what's incredible. You transform lives. When I watched your TED Talk on YouTube, I went, OMG. Okay. This man, not only is he an inspiration, but well, I could say he walks the walk, but he runs the walk. He made the decision to change his life, and he didn't. He did. He changed his life. And now all over the world, I mean, you did the whole Freedom Summit Asia. Did you go to all the cities, or did you stop in Thailand?
I went to 4 of the 5 that were scheduled at that time. I think there are a couple more scheduled. I decided to make a detour and not go to the last one. I've never been to some parts of Southeast Asia that I really wanted to see. And the opportunities for me to have adventure were a little too strong than to be at the one event, because I had already done more than what I planned. So I planned 3, I did 4. And so I skipped the 5 so I could have a little bit more adventure, because that's kind of a lesson too, is that when I was growing up, my family didn't understand me. And most people that I know didn't understand me. A lot of them still don't, but I'm living my life the way I want to live. And it's not typical. It's not traditional anymore. It used to be carpenter, house, picket fence, family, the whole thing. That's the way it used to be. And it would never fit me right. And so I don't own anything anymore. I rent fancy Airbnbs, and I travel the world, and I live a semi-nomadic life, because I'm living on my terms. I see my kids as much, if not more, than when I was living a block down the street from them. So it works out that way. So because I'm a single dad now. And so you could say, well, I can't do that because of my kids. I can't do that because of my job. I created all this. It wasn't overnight, but I created the life that I have, and it's not perfect yet. I'm working on it. I'm getting there. I'm moving there every year. But I've created something that other people are just like, wow, I wish I could live like you. Well, the fact is, you can.
Yes.
You can. You just have to choose, and you have to go down the road and be willing to do whatever it takes to get there. So I was just writing this the other day. When I was running, I get asked all the time when I was either run across America or Death Valley. Both of them were absolutely horrific in terms of pain. And I'm asked, how did you keep going? Didn't you suffer? And the short answer is no, I didn't suffer. Yes, I was in pain every day. It took me 15 minutes to wake up, sit up, stand up, and start moving, because I had to do it so slowly. Then the first mile or 2 was barely walking. Then that became a fast walk. Then that became a jog. And then eventually that became a run after several miles. Excruciating, brutal pain that I can't explain with words. And so I was in pain every day, but I never suffered, because suffer is a choice. Suffer is a mindset. It's not a physical thing. It's a mindset. And so, yes, I went through the pain. Yes, I had to go through all that work to get there, but it was a choice to do that. And so I was never suffering, because my goal was so big that it was just a way of getting to that goal is what I had to go through. Now, it'd be kind of like a woman saying, I suffered through pregnancy, through childbirth. Did you suffer through childbirth, or did you give birth to the most amazing human on the planet? It's a totally different mindset, because some women say, oh, it was terrible suffering for my pregnancy, for my birth. And then other women are like, wow, that was the most amazing thing. Was it painful for everybody? Of course it was. Every single woman goes through so much pain giving birth. Every single person goes through so much pain going through life, because it's a human thing that we have. But the suffering, that's a choice. So how did I keep going? It was because my goal was so big that I couldn't fail. I kept moving forward. As I got a big letter Y on my shirt. I don't know if you can see it. It actually says New York City, but with the center's a Y. My Y, you might hear my dog in the background.
It's great.
They're delivering oil right now. So she's barking a little bit. So if you hear a dog in the background, that's why. I apologize.
Okay. Well, you're welcome to bring the puppy over to say hello.
Yeah, she's coming over. She's a little mad. She's a little mad at the man in the backyard.
What's the puppy's name?
Luna.
Okay. But not to get off track here, because you're so inspiring. Yes, suffering is a choice. Most definitely.
And the point of that is that most people they want the result, They want to be the millionaire. They want to have that amazing relationship. They want to have the fit body. They want to have all the things, but very few people are willing to do what it takes to get there. Now, you could say going to the gym every day is hard work, or you could say, I get to go to the gym every day and maintain this amazing body. There's a big choice. I have to go on a diet, or I get to go on a diet and become the fit person I've always wanted to be. It's a big difference in mindset.
I get to give up dairy and wheat. I get to train at the gym. Yes.
So it's all a choice in life. It's either suffering or it's difficult, it's hard, or it's just part of your journey.
But what are the results? I remember when I started my business in 2005, and I thought, oh my gosh, the administration, the clients coming over, all the fears I had to tap through in order to make it happen. And now I'm traveling the world, teaching emotional freedom techniques and helping people change their mindset, helping people get unstuck. That's my dream, and it's happening because I choose it. So,
and all the people we were at the summit with, they're all doing the same thing. And not to say we should all become experts and go travel the world. That's not everybody's thing. But what is it for you? What is that life that lights you up, that gets you excited, that you want to do every day? Because most people are living with kind of the result of what happened. We don't usually plan our life. Most people don't. I didn't either up until 10 years ago or so. I started to actually and purposely, intelligently plan my life for what I wanted. And I didn't know what I wanted immediately, but that happened as you go down the road. As Martin Luther King says, you do not need to see the whole staircase to take the first step. When you take the first step, the next step will be revealed. Then the next step, then the next step. I started that journey. And so what happens for most people is that we just sort of end up on this path. We don't plan it. We go to high school, then most of us go to college, then we end up at some job, and then we kind of don't leave that job, or we find another job like it. And it's not purposeful. It's just because we're sold into this idea that we should have a job and we should settle down and that we should, have the house and the car and the mortgage and the credit card bills and the fancy pots in the kitchen and the fancy furniture and all this crazy stuff. We're sold into this idea that's great for people who are aligned with it. But if you're not aligned with that lifestyle, then what are you aligned with? And why aren't you living that? Or what do you have to do to start creating that? And that's the choice. You're at that road saying, where do I want to be as compared to where I'm going? And that's where you get to choose what kind of life you want.
Yes. And then every story that gets in your way, you need to break through it. I see so many people that say, yes, but. And I think, no buts about it. Let's tap on those tail enders. Let's get rid of those buts because you can do it. I'm not saying it's going to be easy. I'm not saying there's not going to be fear. I'm not saying that you're going to do something that you've never done before, that's not familiar. I'm not saying that you may have second thoughts along the way. I'm telling you right now that if I always say to some of my clients, I say, if we're still having this conversation in another 10 years, my glasses are going to go to the end of my nose. Or if we're still having this conversation in 5 years, my glasses are going to the end of my nose and I'm going to say, what are you doing and why are you still here? Meaning in the same situation that we discussed 5 or 10 years ago. Hopefully they're not going to be in that same situation under my care, but you've got some decisions to make, some hard decisions, and I'm here to support you 1000% every step of the way. Don't lead a mediocre life. Don't wish your life away. I said to one client, I said, close your eyes and see yourself in this situation in another 10 years. And she said she was going to throw up. I said, obviously, that's not where you want to be in 10 years. So what would you like to do in 10 years? Close your eyes and see that. And then immediately she felt excited. I said, okay, so you know your path. I'm going to support you on that. Let's create a plan for you to be on that path because obviously the one you're in right now isn't working. And that's what we've done.
And those are the kind of things that I do with my attendees at live events, is walk them through the process of what happens if you don't change.
Yes.
Okay. If most people are like, no, I don't want that. Most people anyway. And then, okay, so then we figure out what do you want? What kind of life would you like? And then start creating that. And then I help them visualize that and see it and internalize it so that they could start taking action on it and then eventually achieve it. And that's the process for everybody, regardless of what modality you use to get there. There are a lot of great modalities. But the idea is that you have to see it and you have to start taking action on it. So you have to have a clear vision. So if you were going to hit a target with a bow and an arrow, and so I put a target in front of you, I give you a bow and an arrow, even if you've never picked up a bow and arrow before, you got a fairly good chance of maybe hitting it. But now if I put a blindfold on you, spin you around a dozen times, and then tell you to find the target, it's going to be nearly impossible. And yet that's how many people go through life. They're wandering through life with the blindfold on without even knowing where the target is. So how could you ever achieve it if you don't even know where it is? It's going to be almost impossible, if not impossible.
Right. Oh my gosh. Croix, do you have your books at hand there to show everybody by chance? I didn't ask you to do this ahead of time, but I did want to let people know. Okay.
If you give me a second, I could probably get one.
Okay, go ahead. Go get one. Okay. Croix has written some amazing books, and I at least wanted him to show you one on the screen. And then I'm definitely going to put in my notes on this podcast. Oh, his Facebook page is incredible, ladies and gentlemen. You've got to friend Croix on his Facebook page. He has done some incredible things, riding elephants. Oh, he put up. I'll have to ask him about the snake that he put around his neck. He was holding some kind of a bat, whether it was in Thailand or Bali. I'm thinking, no, I do not have the desire to do that. But he definitely is a free spirit, definitely is an adventurer. But more important, he lives life on his terms. He has created the life that he wants to lead. And so he's an inspiration to all of us. I was just telling our audience about to join browse your Facebook page and join it, because you've got all kinds of incredible photos of your travels on there, from riding elephants to wrapping snakes around you to hold. What was that bat you were holding?
That was a fruit bat. That probably had about a 4 or 5 foot wingspan.
Oh.
That was scary.
Do those things bite?
I don't want to find out.
Incredible. But show everybody one of your books. Okay, back it up just a little bit. Good. Croix Sather, Dream Big, Act Big, bam. All right, available on you know where. On that major retailer. Do it.
Actually, right on my website.
Right on your website.
Yeah.
Okay. Go to croixsather.com. Boy, if I got that book and mailed it to you wherever you are in the world, would you autograph it for me and mail it back to me with a self-addressed stamped envelope? Nothing like asking you to do this on the web. Maybe we'll talk later, but I'm definitely getting the book. Let's put it that way. And then we'll see about whether or not.
Wherever you want.
Okay. Thank you. Whoopies. Oh my gosh.
You're in Vancouver, right?
No, everybody else who's cool is in Vancouver. No, that's terrible. Okay. There are other cool people in Pittsburgh too. I'm sorry, Pittsburgh.
Oh, that's right. You're in the US, yeah.
I'm in the US.
We're almost neighbors when I'm in the US.
Geez, well, Croix, I'll just walk up there and get the book. What the hey?
I can run to Philly in like 2 days, or Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh would probably be 3 days.
Pittsburgh probably. We don't have to run. I can take a plane somewhere. But yes, I'm in the United States. I'm in Western Pennsylvania. This is, excuse me, this is my home base. I'm not quite as minimalist as you and some people that we know. No, I have to have more than one suitcase for my clothes. So, but I have a base here and then I travel. Although I do, now that I've been introduced to Airbnbs, that is definitely a cool thing to do. definitely.
It's
So,
Airbnb is fantastic. I prefer it over hotels now most
oh
often
yes,
because especially if I'm there for a night or two, it doesn't much matter. Hotels are usually easier. But if
yeah.
I'm going to be there for a week or longer, and sometimes I stay for weeks, sometimes for months,
Okay.
then I prefer Airbnbs because they're outfitted. Usually, a good one is outfitted with everything you need except for the food. So the utensils, the teapot, the coffee pot. I mean, it's all there, and you can get really, really fantastic places. And the reason I like it is because it gives me privacy and it makes me feel like I'm home, even though it's not my home. And that's a mindset thing too. It took a little while to get used to being, place to place to place. But after I got used to that, and I'm in a place and I'm a couple hours later, I feel like I'm home already because
Oh,
I put my clothes out, I sit down with my laptop and I start to work. And
yeah.
so no matter where I am, whether I'm sitting on the beach somewhere in Asia, or if I live in South America for part time of the year,
Mm.
wherever I am, it's only within one day that I'm feeling like home. Now, it didn't used to be that way. That was something that took a little bit of training. But like everything else, anything that has to do with your mind it's a muscle. So you don't go to the gym once and you lift a whole bunch of weights and go to one of these crazy boot camps. You're lifting tires and all this crazy stuff and you're healthy for life. It's something that has to be done all the time. You don't eat one salad and you're healthy for life. It has to be done all the time. Just like you don't take one shower and you're clean for
Oh
life.
gosh. Hmm.
It has to be done on a regular basis. And mindset is the same thing. So getting out of your comfort zone takes regular attention to be able to do that. To create the kind of life you want is regular mindset training to be able to get there. And all the things that you want and don't want is that the only different distance is the distance between your ears. It's not from here to wherever you want to be. It's the distance between your ears, and that's what's keeping you from what you want.
Hmm.
And so that's what you have to work on first before you work on all the other stuff, before you go buy these fancy programs to learn how to become a millionaire or whatever it is you got to work on the mindset, because you can't become a millionaire until you become a millionaire in the mind. You can't become healthy and fit until you become healthy and fit in your mind. And these are all things that happen over a process. It's not like you snap your fingers and it's there.
Hmm.
It's just like the tapping. Sometimes tapping's got to be done several times for it to work. Sometimes it works in the first shot, and sometimes it takes a few sessions or more. It's
Right.
the same exact thing. But people want instant gratification, and that's why most people don't have what they want, because they don't get it the first try.
Thank you. Unless somebody has a phobia to elevators, there's no such thing as a one-hit wonder with tapping. It does take time, especially once we start peeling back the layers of the onion.
When I was in where was it, Bali? When I was in Bali, I was going around touring around, and we went to these waterfalls. And so we asked the taxi driver, where's the best waterfalls? He gave us the name, and so we set up a tour for that. And so there was 5 of us that went on this trip. And so we started at the what would that be? It was a 10-foot jump. Was it 10 foot? Something like a 10-foot jump. Then whatever that is, 3 meters, and then it was a 10-meter jump, and then it was a 15-meter jump. So 15 meters is almost 50 feet.
Oh my
And
God.
so I've jumped from pretty high up, and I used to be a springboard diver. So I've got some experience in this, but many, many years ago. So I went to the first jump was super easy. It's 10 feet, no big deal. It's nothing for me. And then I go to the 10-meter one, which is 30 feet. And that one was a little bit intimidating, but I did it with no problem. But then the difference between a 10-meter and a 15-meter, that extra 15 feet, that made a world of difference. Now I'm looking down at this thing. I'm like, oh my God, this is crazy. And I've jumped from similar heights, but that was when I was really young and really stupid. Now I'm slightly less young and hopefully slightly less stupid. And
Ladies
so
and
I had
gentlemen, please don't try this unless you've had some training. Do not go jumping into off a cliff into a waterfall or lake or pond that's 50 feet down there unless you've trained a little bit for this. Just a little bit of a disclaimer there. Go ahead.
And so it was the mindset that allowed me to overcome the fear, because I was absolutely terrified to do this. The 10-meter was easy, but the 15-meter was a whole different story for me. And where is that difference? The difference is in my mindset, because it's only a few feet higher, but yet it scared me, and I had to psych myself out to be able to make that leap and to be able to jump. And so that's where the mindset training comes in. Had I not had the training that I've done through the past 10 years, then I never would have been able to overcome the fear that I have. Because the perception of fear is worse than the fear itself. So I run, I jump, I land, no problem whatsoever. Like I've done many times at slightly lower elevations. So it's not that the jump was so much higher or scarier. I probably could have jumped from 100 feet and had just as much success. But it was the fear that almost stopped me. It was the fear that almost stopped me from putting that python around my neck or holding that fruit bat. But if I don't do those little things throughout life, then when I need to do something that actually scares me, then how am I going to be able to step through it? How did I learn to become such a great public speaker on stage? Is I learned to step through the fear. When I first got up to the stage to speak the first time, I was in my mid 30s, whatever it was, 35. And I was horrible. I'm holding on to the podium, the lectern, and I'm shaking that thing and I'm sweating and my heart's pounding. And that was the first time I did it, but I got through it. I survived. Nobody died giving a speech. And then the next time was slightly less nerve-wracking. Eventually, now I get excited to get on stage. And it's one of my most favorite places to be is to be on stage. And that didn't happen because I'm naturally good at being on stage. It was an art to learn the mindset of it, to be comfortable. And then they had to do it because, you could get up and give a talk, or you could give up and get a speech. Two very, very different things. And then the speeches have different purposes. So whether you're educating, you're selling, you're inspiring, they're all different things that you have to learn how to do. Storytelling is a big one. And so those all took time to get there. It wasn't one day. It wasn't one or two speeches. This was, it was probably 4, 5, 6 years before I felt like I mastered being on stage. Maybe longer. I don't know. I'm still learning new things.
Everyone out there, you want a keynote speaker? Bam, here's your man.
But even today, I'm still, 11 years later, I'm still learning new techniques on stage. We're watching our peers that were speaking in Asia, and I'm writing notes for each one. Is like, what are they doing well that I'm not doing, and how can I incorporate some of that?
Wow. Oh, I'm not going to breathe for the rest of the day. Just taking in everything that you are teaching, everything that you're explaining, because it's all true. It's all absolutely true. And these are things that we both faced challenges in our lives, and they haven't put us down. They've strengthened us. They've empowered us to move forward and create the life that we want to. So, ladies and gentlemen, fear is not an option. There's a way to get through it. Change your mindset. Whether it's through Croix, whether it's through me, change your mindset. You can do anything you want to. I'm telling you, 150 years ago, I was in business. I was a property manager for apartments, and I wasn't happy. So then I kept hearing, I've always wanted to help people. And then that's when I went back to graduate school and changed my life. And now, holy Toledo, I'm going around the world and I'm talking to you wherever you are in this world. Thank you so much for listening in on these inspiring messages we get from Croix today. But it's just so exciting to meet people, hear their message, hear their life, learn from them. Wow, fantastic. Croix, I want to ask you, oh my gosh. So Facebook and your website are the two best places to contact you?
Yeah, either on Facebook or my website, either one.
Okay.
I also have, which I checked this morning, my link is down, but I'll fix it this afternoon. I got to go figure out what's going on. But you can also get a copy of my book, digital copy of my book for free at freedreambigbook.com. freedreambigbook.com.
Beautiful.
And then I'll fix that link today. I checked it this morning before we got on the call. Like, oh man, the link's broken. Let me see what's going on, and I'll figure that out after we get off. Okay. Technology, it happens all the time.
Oh, I know. Believe me, I did a little bit of an energy prayer over my computer this morning. And I cleared my cache. I didn't want any mess ups on this podcast today. I Reiki'd my computer. I Reiki'd the camera. Whatever I have to do energy-wise to make this happen. You have shared with us so many inspiring messages and points about how to live your best life, how to break into what you want and what you deserve, not to just wish for it, but to make it happen. I think that's the biggest message. Go ahead.
It's a combination of a couple of things, and this is going to be very aligned with everyone who's listening to this. Is first, you got the conscious mind, and that's the one that we're using right now to talk with. And so that's how we get through our physical awake day. But then you have the subconscious mind, and that's about 93% of the programs that we run on. It's the software that runs the thing. So things that we learned as children, things we learned as young adults, and even up to recently, these are all things that run in the background. But then there's also a third part of the mind, which most people aren't familiar with, and that's the vibrational mind. And so if the conscious mind is the top of if you imagine an iceberg, the conscious mind is the 7% that you see above the water, and the subconscious mind is the 93% that's below the water. The vibrational mind, that's the water. And that's what connects you and me, the dogs, the grass, the trees, everything in the world is connected through the vibrational mind. And it's, so if you walk into a room and you feel this chill, and then you later find out they're arguing right before you got there, that's the vibrational mind. And just like when I moved to Colombia and I got off the plane, I just felt at home. That's the vibrational mind sensing this, like, wow, this is a place I need to live for a while. And so that's when you align the three levels of the mind, the conscious, subconscious, and vibrational mind, that's when you start attracting everything you want in life. Now you combine that also with action, because you can't not take action. You can't sit on the couch eating potato chips and ice cream and expect to have the body of Adonis. It just doesn't work that way. But if you align the three levels of your mind, then the taking action is so much easier, because now there's no conflict, or very little conflict, very little resistance. And so that's what you have to do, is first line up the three levels of your mind. So conscious mind is affirmations, things like that. Meditation, although meditation can almost be considered subconscious too, somewhere in the middle. But then the subconscious mind are the programmings. You have to rewrite the programs that you've had all your life. So people have programs like, I'm not good at names. Well, why do you have that program? Because your parents probably said, I'm not good at names, or your teachers or someone. And so it's like, oh, wow, I'm not good at names either, because you forgot a name one time. No, I'm not good at names. Now you repeat that over and over and over. At the conscious level, that becomes a subconscious thought. And now you don't remember names. Why don't you remember names? Because you don't focus on the person's name. Not that you can't remember it, it's because you are blocked from remembering the name, because you have that subconscious mind. Just like with eating, we have a lot of subconscious beliefs around eating or around money. And these are things that you have to fix. You fix them through tapping, you fix them through hypnosis, NLP, meditation, all these different things. In fact, you probably should use them all. And you do all these things to reprogram your subconscious mind. And then the vibrational mind is a combination of the conscious, subconscious, and then the belief of what's happening and the awareness of what's happening. So if you don't realize the signs in life, then it's hard to be tapped into the vibrational mind. Because we all have these signs. Like you have literally says, if you're waiting for a sign, this is it. You've seen these memes on Facebook. Mm-hmm. You have to be looking for the sign. So for me, it's butterflies. So do we have time for me to tell one more story?
Oh, go! I've got all day.
We didn't talk about how long we're going, so I don't know if we're supposed to be shorter or longer or whatever.
I just want to share your wisdom with the world, so I'm zipping it. Go for a story.
So after I ran across America, I trained for another year, and I'm in Death Valley, so the hottest place on the planet. And it's a unsupported run, so I'm pushing a cart filled with food, water, and supplies. And I get to mile 6, and I start vomiting. And now I expected this to happen, but not for another 80 or 90 miles. At mile 11, I'm dealing with heat exhaustion. Same thing. I expected it much, much later on. I'm taking unplanned breaks. And by the time I get to mile 34, I have to pull the plug and I have to call it quits. I'm way behind schedule. My body's just not adjusting like it should have been, like it's trained to do. You ever have a bad day at the office? This is my office, and this is the worst day I've ever had. And so I'm there and I'm training, and I'm at mile 34. I'm way behind schedule. I can't beat the world record. And I don't even think I could finish the course because I still got another 100 and whatever miles to go. And so I have to quit. And so we go back to Vegas. And as I'm going, you'll have to excuse me for a minute. My dog's going nuts. I'm sorry.
Okay. Take care, puppy. Take care, Luna. I'll talk to the people.
Okay. I'm sorry.
Isn't this incredible, ladies and gentlemen? Um, One of the most inspiring speakers that I have. I'm just so fortunate to have met Croix so that I can have him on to share his wisdom and his journey with you. Yes, everything that we're both learning today. I always learn from my guests. I always learn something new. I'm always inspired. This day is certainly no exception. I want you to think about one thing that you would like to do differently in your life today that you've been putting off, that you've been afraid to do. Take that one thing and make it happen. All right. Whatever you've been putting off, just take one step. Like Croix mentioned, you're not climbing the whole ladder, you're just taking the first step. Take that first step to do what you've been afraid to do what you've been putting off, do it because of whatever story or excuses are in your head. I challenge you to do something that you've wanted to do that you haven't done yet, or to do something that you've never done before. Okay, Croy's back with us now.
Sorry about that.
Great.
She never does that. I do these shows all the time, and she was angry at something, whatever it was. So
No problem.
So I'm in Death Valley. I get to mile 46, and I've got to call it quits. And this is something, you know, I trained for a year to run across America. Then I trained another year to be in Death Valley. It's all on the line, and now I have to make one of the hardest decisions of my life is to quit. You know, because I'm the guy who says never ever quit. You know, go after your dreams no matter what. You keep pushing through the pain. You push through whatever it takes to get there. And here I am saying, you know, guys, I'm done, because I had a videographer and a paramedic there to make sure that I was safe. And so we drive back to Las Vegas, and I'm in the air conditioning, and I start feeling really good again. So I'm like, yeah, I told my videographer, like, Josh, what if we go back? And he's mad. You know, he's a very zen, chill guy, like most videographers are. They're very quiet people. But he's mad. He's like, I can't believe it. This is the most pathetic failure of your life. And I don't know if I'm going to be available next year, because this has to be done in August. It's the only month that this record could be done. So it's the hottest time of the year in the hottest place on the planet. And so I just kind of giggle at him and say, no, Josh, I mean, what if we go back in a few days? And he just starts laughing at me. He's like, you just went 45 miles. You're going to go back in a few days on tired legs, and you're going to go try to do this again. And so he just laughs at me. We go back to Vegas, and we fall asleep. I wake up the next morning. Let's change our tickets. Let's restock the cart. We're going back in 3 days from now. So 72 hours later, I'm back, not at mile 45, but at mile 0. So I'm at the very start line, and I get to mile 6, and I see a little blue butterfly. And now this is Death Valley. So Death Valley, there's rattlesnakes and scorpions, and that's like pretty much it. And so I see this little blue butterfly, and it flaps in front of my face for a moment before it starts to fly away. When I was training to run across America, so just a couple months before, I get a call from my dad, and he's screaming and crying. He's like, get over here, your brother's dead. I'm like, who, Darren? Like, how can he be dead? He's only 45 years old.
Oh my God.
He's like, get over here now. And so I rushed down to the hospital, and my brother had died of a massive heart attack.
Oh.
And, you know, just 45 years old. So super young guy, and just gone like that. It was just his time. And so a few weeks later, I gave the eulogy, and I used the butterfly effect as a metaphor for his life. So the butterfly effect is this concept that when a butterfly flaps its wings, then it moves air molecules, and those air molecules move other air molecules, which move other air molecules. And it can, in theory, eventually create a storm on the other side of the earth. So a butterfly here in Philadelphia or in Pennsylvania can create a storm in say, Asia or someplace. Mm-hmm. And so I use that metaphor for my brother's life, because while he's not here in physical form, he still lives on through the air molecules he moved. And the one thing my brother was extraordinarily good at is, and he had an extraordinarily tough life too, but what he was amazing at is making you feel good no matter how much pain or challenge he was in his life. And he had drug addictions and physical issues and personal issues and all kinds of things that was going on in his life. And yet, if you see him, it was like, how's it going? How's the wife and kids? And, you know, how did this go? How did that go? And he remembers everybody. We called him the mayor of our town, because he knew everybody. So he always left people feeling better than when they saw him. He always came to you with a smile. And so the butterfly effect in his life that I took from that was to be more like him, to be more like that person that makes everybody feel better. And so while gone in physical form, the air molecules he moved are still moving and hitting other air molecules and other air molecules. And so a few weeks later, my sister calls me up and says, I'm going to get a tattoo in memory of Darren. And she gets a little blue butterfly on her back shoulder, on her right shoulder. The same kind of butterfly I saw at mile 6 on my second time trying to break the world record. And so as that little butterfly flew in front of my face for a moment, I looked at it and I talked to her. I said, it's good to see you, bro. But, you know, I miss you, man, but you never give up, right? Because my brother was one of the people who taught me never, ever give up. And so mile 6, I go through that. Mile 11, go through that. Mile 23, 32, 46, the same place that I stopped before. I'm way ahead of schedule. I push up the first mountain, back down, up to the next mountain. And I'm way ahead of schedule. And I end up getting to almost to the very top of the mountain. I'm just like 2 miles or so from the end. And my body just crashes. And so I thought I was just out of steam. And so, I'm sorry, it was 7 miles from the end. I thought I was out of steam. And so my body's, I'm stumbling, I'm falling down. I can't stand up. And I think this is it. I've come so close, but it's still one hell of a run. I did a great job. And so I take my one of these little energy drinks that I had. I had one energy drink with me. And I take that, and a few minutes later, I feel like Superman. I'm like a billy goat running up the hill, bouncing, jumping, I'm flying. Years earlier, I was an EMT and a firefighter. And so I learned through that experience, I learned about hypo and hyperglycemia and hypo and hypertension, you know, all these things. So high sugar, low sugar, high blood pressure, low blood pressure, you know, all these different things. And so I learned about these things, and I realized that what I was going through is I was basically going into diabetic shock. So while my body, of course, was fatigued, my blood sugar was low. And so when I took that energy drink, and my blood sugar skyrocketed, and I'm taking off, and 20 minutes later, I'm crashing again.
Okay.
And so I realized that I have to feed myself better. I didn't do that very well throughout this 146-mile run. Okay. And so I started taking a little nibble of food every couple of minutes, and my sugar equalizes over the next hour. Eventually, I get to the top of the mountain, and I finish in 72 hours and 55 minutes, nonstop, no sleep, just continually going to the end of the race. Now, the question I always ask my audience is, you know, what matters more, that I beat the world record or that I finished?
You finished.
That I finished, that I didn't give up on my dream.
Right.
And so that was the most important thing. But in the process of that, of not giving up, of going back, of looking for the signs, the vibrational mind we talked about, the blue butterfly for me, and lots of people have butterflies or dragonflies or, you know, sunshine or a specific flower or whatever it is. These signs are out there every single day. When you're aligned with all three levels of the mind, you realize these signs are there, and that's kind of your permission and your reminder that you need to keep moving forward, no matter what it takes. And so I get up there 72 hours, 55 minutes later, and I didn't only beat the world record, I crushed it by almost 5 hours. A record that had been standing for 13 years. And I'm the first one to ever beat the record.
Oh, gosh. Ah! Congratulations on all fronts. It seems like such a mild word for everything that you've accomplished so far in your young life. And you've got another 100 years yet.
Actually, 102.
102. I stand corrected. Everybody follow Croix because he is an amazing human. Not just an athlete, not only an athlete. Mind, body, spirit, spiritually. He's the total package. So continue to follow him on his journey, as I'm going to do for sure.
And here's the most important thing. I want to make sure that's super, super clear, because it's easily missed in the kind of dramatic stories that I tell, is that it's not about the run, or not just about the run. Yes, that was amazing. That was spectacular. But what it's really about is following your dreams. creating a life that you want to live, living the lifestyle that you've always dreamed of. The running for me was the means to an end. It was the metaphor. It was the example. It wasn't about the run. It wasn't about the world record. Yeah, those things are awesome. But it was about me pursuing my dreams and transforming my life. And that's what I do with all my clients. Is we're here for, 80, 90, 100 years, 100 whatever years, very short period of time. And so we shouldn't be living it in a dull or drab or uninspiring or uninteresting life. Not every moment's going to be extraordinary, but as a whole, your center of gravity, your life should be absolutely amazing. And so that way, when you get to the rocking chair of your life, you're looking back and you're not saying, I wish I would have. You're saying, holy cow, that was one hell of a ride. It was, you're telling stories to your grandchildren, your great-grandchildren, maybe your great-great-great-grandchildren, and you're telling stories. And then after you're gone, they're going to say, your grandpa or your grandma, she did this. And that's the legacy that you leave here. My brother left the air molecules he changed is about being happy. At least that's the ones for me. And for other people, may be different. But that's what he changed for me. Mine, hopefully, is to inspire other people and help people leave a life of mediocrity and create a life of living something extraordinary. But what is it for you? What are your air molecules that you're changing? And you have to decide what that is, and then go out and do it in a really big way and make the difference. My book is called Dream Big, Act Big, and that's what life is about. Dreaming big, taking massive action, and then following through until you eventually cross the finish line. And here's the cool part is when you finish one race, there's always another race to run. And so you get to do something else next.
Croix Sather, after this podcast is over, I'm just going to sit down and cry. I am so inspired. I am tapping myself to keep breathing so I can keep talking. Oh my God. And I say that in prayer and respect of God and divine. Oh. Okay, Jen, get it together here. Yes. Ah. Okay, take a breath. So you heard it here. I can jabber on until the grass turns blue and the sky turns green, but you heard it from this human. To create, it is possible to create the life that you want to live, and there's no such thing as failure. Croix, whoa, thank you so much. Those are mere words, but just my heart center. Thank you so much for being on the show today and sharing your story. You are an amazing human, and I'm so proud to know you. So let's keep in touch. I want to thank everyone who's watching, who's listening, and you know what to do. Go to iTunes and rate this. As a matter of fact, please go to iTunes and rate this and share this with someone you love, because there's no more inspiring message than you've heard here today. I want to thank everybody who's watching, everybody who's listening. Life Without Limits, because there are no limits to what you can achieve. If you have any questions, you know where you can find me, joankaler.com. I'm everywhere, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. And I am happy to talk with you if you have any questions. Croix Sather, God bless you in your work and everything that you attempt in life, because it just gets... You're like this rolling pebble, just getting more amazing with every passing moments. And the air molecules that you're creating, OMG. Thank you so much for being on the show today.
Thank you for having me.
God bless.
And thank you, everybody, for listening.
Yes, absolutely. So I am going to, okay, where am I going here? I'm going to sign off somewhere. Okay, Jen, let's go back to, it would be so nice to have light. Here it is. Okay. Good meeting for all.